Okay, so here we are in review section 3. We're going to go through questions 9 through 17 on this one. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. So we're finding the slope between each pair of points. So remember that when we have two pairs of points, and we're trying to find the slope between each, we're actually going to be dealing with the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So remember to have this formula memorized when it comes to this on the test. But let's go ahead and get started on this one. So we're going to go y2 and y1. So I'm going to label these as x1, y1, and x2, y2. Remember, it doesn't matter what you label them. This one could have been x2, y2, and x1, y1. They'll get you the same as long as the pairs are still x and y. So I'm just going to go ahead and start there. So we should have a 7 over 5 minus 0 on top there. This one's going to be a little bit different because we're going to have to be subtracting the, and adding fractions. But don't be too scared of it because they should disappear very soon. So we have 2 over 3 for our x2, and we're going to minus a 1 over 3. Okay, so then when we do this out, I'm going to start at the top. 7 over 5 minus 0 is just going to be 7 over 5. And then divided by 2 minus 1, because we have the same denominators, so we're good there. So 2 minus 1 is just going to be 1/3 on the bottom. Okay, now remember that when we divide two fractions, we actually want to make it into a multiplication by doing the reciprocal. So what I mean by that is, since this is 7 over 5 divided by 1 over 3, to make it a multiplication, we actually just want to make that middle sign a multiply, and then we do the reciprocal of the second one. So instead of 1 over 3, it's now going to be 3 over 1. And then all we have to do is just multiply that out. So 7 times 3, you have 21. So 21 over 5 is our slope here. And that's for number 9. Coming over to 10, let's go ahead and label these again. We're going to be doing the same thing, where we're going to be adding and subtracting across using the formula. So let's do y2 first. So we have 2 over 3 minus 2 over 3, okay. And then on the bottom, we have 0 minus 3. So minus a -3, which is going to make it positive down here. Okay, so then 2/3 minus 2/3, of course, is just going to be 0 over 3, which turns into 0. So on top we have a 0, and then on the bottom we're going to have 3. So really the bottom doesn't really matter in this case, because since the top is 0, our whole answer and slope is going to be 0. So remember that. Okay, coming over here, we have x1 and y1, and then x2 and y2. So let's go ahead and do this. So y2 first, -7, and then minus a -3. On top, on the bottom, we have a -6, and then we're going to minus 2. Because that 2 is positive, it's just gonna be subtracting. Up here we have a minus, so it's going to be a plus. So -7 plus 3 is going to be -4. And then on the bottom, we have -6 minus 2, which is going to be -8. So because they're both negative, it can cancel out. And now we can actually simplify these two by 4. So if we divide both by 4, we're actually going to get 1 over 2. So 1/2 is going to be our slope for 11. Okay. So moving on to the next one, we have to graph the line and find the slope. Okay, so starting at the first one here at 12, let me actually clear all my points real fast. Okay, so we're going to start at the beginning. So this is really nice because they have it in y equals mx plus b form. So we know that the m is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. So when we're graphing these, we just start with the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 1 in this first one. I'm going to go ahead and put a point there. And then using the slope, remember that it's rise over run. So when we do this, I'm going to go up 4 and then over to the right 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. And there's our second point. And then we can go ahead and draw a line between them. And there we go. There is our graph. And the slope, of course, for this one is going to be the 4/3 for number 12. Okay, so then going on to number 13, again, we have the y-intercept and the slope here. So starting with the y-intercept, we're starting out at -2. And then we're going to go, based off the slope, we're going to go down 7 because it's a negative number and to the right 6. So if we go down 7, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to, hold on, let me get rid of this bar. And then we're going to go over to the right 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's our next point. Okay, and then we can go ahead and just draw a line in between the two. And voila, there's our graph. And then of course, our slope is just the -7/6. Okay, so this one is going to be a couple extra steps, number 14, because it's not in y equals mx plus b form right now. So we actually have to get y by itself to find out what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get the x's over first. So I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides. And we have -3y equals -4x plus 2. And then I'm going to divide -3 by everything. -3. So then our actual equation that we're going to use is y equals a +4/3x and then -2/3. Okay, so now we have our y-intercept and we have our slope here. So our slope is going to be 4/3. When we graph this, we're going to start at -2/3. So really what this is it's not exactly 1, it's almost 1 though. So when we plot our first point, we're just going to put it right underneath the 1 because it's 2/3 there. And it is negative. And then going from there, we're going to do our slope of 4/3. So we're going to go up 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then over 3. 1, 2, 3. Make sure that if you're doing this method, that we are going just above the next line over, if that makes sense. Because we don't want it exactly on one of these points, because that's not true. We want it in just the right spot so that it makes sense there. And then we're just going to draw a line in between those 2 points. And there we go. Okay, and then going on to the next one, I'm going to go ahead and clear out all of these. Okay, then we're going to go on to 15. Again, it's like 14 where we have to get the y all by itself. So I'm going to subtract 5x on both sides first. 5x. So we have -9y equals -5x minus 18. And then I'm going to divide -9 by everything. -9. So then this equation that we're actually going to base it off of is actually going to be y equals 5/9x because it's going to be positive. And then it's going to be a plus 2 because -18 divided by -9 is going to come out as a positive 2. So then our slope is 5/9. And we're going to start out at our y-intercept of 2. So starting at 2, I'm then going to go up 5 and then to the right 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right there. And there's our next point. So remember to just always go from the y-intercept if you're going to use the rise over run method to find the next point. I find it the easiest to do that. If not, you can always just plug in points to try and find, graph out the line. That also works. Okay, coming over to number 16, we have it all in y equals mx plus b form. So that means that 3 is going to be our slope here, and then 4 is going to be our y-intercept. So starting at 4, that's going to be our y-intercept here. What we're going to do is, since this is just 3, we have to remember that it's actually 3 over 1 as our rise over run. So we're actually going to rise up 3 and just go over 1. So that will be our next point there. That makes sense because it's super steep. And there we go. There's our line. Okay, so then going on to the next one. Again, here is our slope. It's just -9/10 because it's in y equals mx plus b. And then our b is just -1. So our y-intercept is -1 here. So I'm going to start there. Then I'm going to go down 9 and over 10. So we're going to go down 9, and then we're going to go over 10 here. And there we go. Here is the line for number 17. All right.